Willkommen, everyone. Hello. Welcome to PCC's studio production of the Brecht Project. My name is Catherine Nye. I am a theater arts professor at Pasadena City College and the proud director, stage manager, and sound effects operator for today's show. There are a few things that we want to let you know before we begin. Firstly, we do have a trigger warning. There are brief mentions of violence related to immigration and Nazi Germany. It's not a huge part of the show, but it is there, so we did want to let you know. Also, this is a free show, but we do encourage donations at give.pasadena.edu, selecting the theater arts option. I've put it in our chat here on YouTube. And all proceeds go to next year's season so that we can continue to make great theater for you all. This show was created by the students that you're about to watch and myself by doing a writing workshop process for about a month. So almost every single word you're about to hear is an original piece. And we are really excited to share our show with you today after all of their hard work. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the Brecht Project.
Episode 1, in which a group of students rehearse a scene from Anton Chekhov's The Cherry Orchard and are surprised by the ghost of Bertolt Brecht.
Okay, everyone, we are back from the break.
Thank you.
Back.
Thank you back.
You're back.
Let's do the scene again. All other actors, please stand by. We'll get to your scenes in a little bit. In the meantime, maybe you could work on memorizing your lines. Vanessa, Julius, I think you're doing a really good job. This time, just try to focus more on the emotion of it, Really be realistic with your emotions.
Realistic?
Yeah, realistic.
All right, Spence. We're on a Zoom, but yeah, I'll be freaking realistic.
Sorry, what was that? What?
Oh, nothing, love. I will be as realistic as you need.
Great. Whenever you're ready.
The train's arrived. Thank God. What's the time?
It will soon be 2. It's light already.
How late was the train? 2 hours at least. I've made a rotten mess of it. I came here on purpose to meet them at the station, and then I overslept myself in my chair. It's a pity. I wish you'd wakened me.
I thought you'd gone away. I think I hear them coming.
No, they've got to collect their luggage and so on. Lubov Andreevna. She's been living abroad for 5 years now. I wonder what she'll be like now. Well, she's an easy, simple person. I remember when I was a boy of 15, my father, who is dead, well, he used to keep a shop in the village, but, well, he hit me on the face with his fist. And Lubov Andreevna, she took me to the washstand in this very room, the nursery, and she said, "Don't cry, little man. It'll be all right in time for your wedding." Well, I'm rich now. I've got loads of money and, well, I'm still a peasant. If you just look down to the marrow of my bones, you'll see it. I'm still a peasant.
The dogs didn't sleep all night. They know that they're coming. Damn.
What's up with you tonight?
I'm just tired of this,
I don't think that's the line.
No, Julius, I know that's not the line. I'm saying this as me, as Vanessa. I'm just tired of this.
This being
This, all of this.
Chekhov?
Yes. No, I don't know. The world is on fire, and here we are practicing some Russian play in a Zoom meeting. I'm sick of Zoom. I'm sick of COVID. I'm sick of performing plays written by dead white European men.
Well, we lost our budget to pay for rights, so Dead White Men is all we've got. Plus, it is a classic.
I know. It's classic. It's affordable. I don't care. I just want to make theater that represents my voice, that represents my life. I want to find new classics.
I thought at least the Cherry Orchard talks about, class and wealth and the shift of power to the working class in Russia, right?
Aren't you sick of this?
Of Chekhov?
Well, of
All of
all
it.
of
I mean, like, what is even the point right now?
The point of?
Of making theater. I mean, why? Really? Should we be making theater right now? We're in the middle of a horrifying pandemic. Our economy is collapsing. Our very democracy is in peril.
Yeah, but it feels good to make theater.
Oh, guys, please. I love making theater. Don't get me wrong. And I love all of you. But sometimes it just feels pointless. Come on. I know I'm not the only one that's sick of things, huh?
Well, to be honest, I'm sick of the patriarchy.
Yeah, and I'm sick of homophobia.
I'm sick of depending of technology.
I'm sick of ageism.
Yeah, I'm sick of staying in my room and in this box.
I'm sick of being alone.
I'm sick of systemic racism.
So, should we try the scene again, or?
Spencer, are you even hearing what I'm saying? Why are we talking about theater that happened to people in Russia 100 years ago? What does that have to do with Black Lives Matters or our environmental crisis or COVID?
Well, people in Russia went through terribly turbulent times too. I mean, they had a revolution, after all.
Okay, but
Guten Tag!
Guten what?
Oh, sorry. Good day.
Good day.
Sorry, but who are you?
I'm Bertolt Brecht.
Cool.
Oh, you don't even know who that is.
Well, maybe not, but I mean, he looks cool.
Oh, thank you. Bertolt Brecht. You've never heard of me?
Oh, Brecht. I think I learned something about him in my theater history class.
So, who is he?
Well, I don't really remember.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
Forget who you are. Why are you here in the middle of our Zoom rehearsal?
Could I have a drum roll, please? Please? I, the great Bertolt Brecht, one of the best directors and theater makers of all time, am here to give you notes.
Okay.
sure.
You want to give us notes?
Yeah, I'm a great director, and I thought you could use my help. Besides, making theater is my specialty.
This is great. I was just telling the cast they need to be more realistic, to create more emotion.
No, I abhor realism. No, you must create the theater that makes people think. You have to create a theater that reflects the time. The truth is, realism was the theater of its time.
How so?
Well, photography had just been invented, and psychology, thanks to people like Freud and Jung, was all the rage. No. What is the theater that reflects your lives today? You Americans are so obsessed with the method. But that time is done, and you there, you there, you. Yes, you. I heard you say something about the world is on fire, and you're questioning why theater matters at all right now?
Yes, exactly.
Well, my friend here is correct.
My name is Vanessa.
Oh, I'm sorry. Vanessa, you are correct. Vanessa knows that things must change. Listen, fear is in the air. Fear of famine, fear of financial ruin, fear of the pandemic, fear of fear.
There are hungry and homeless people in the street.
There's been riots in the city and demonstrations.
I mean, families are divided.
I can
Yeah.
barely sleep.
And as someone who had to flee the Nazis, I can tell you, the boots of fascism are at your door or on your neck.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. What is the point of making theater right now?
Of course you're questioning all of this. The world around you is crumbling, yeah? You wake up each day questioning the meaning of everything, and then you have to come into a rehearsal room which is online. And you cannot even greet your castmate with a hug or a pat on the back. You can't even feel the vibrations of each other's voices, and you're expected to make theater.
Así es.
I understand. I made theater in Germany in the middle of an economic collapse, barely recovering from one war and on our way to another. I made theater while millions of people in my nation were murdered by a madman that millions of others boldly and blindly followed and adored. I made theater while me and my family were being uprooted from home to home around the world because my real home of Germany, was not safe.
That all sounds
intense.
And now you're going through your own crises. Amongst other things, there's a pandemic, but you're alive, and you're passionate, and restless, and if I dare say, dissatisfied. Whether you are performing Chekhov or telling your own story, you need to bring this all to your art.
Oh, I remember now. Something I learned in class about you. Aren't you the one who said, hold on, art is not a mirror with which to reflect reality, but a hammer with which to shape it?
Yeah, that was me.
I really like that quote.
Thank you. I did come up with some pretty good things if I do say so myself. Listen, I have been where you are. Maybe if I tell you a little more about my life in the theater I made, it will help inspire you, and help inspire you too, my dear audience.
Oh, great. Now we have the ghost of a dead white man trying to inspire us. With all due respect, Mr. Brecht, what does our life possibly have to do with your life?
Yeah, that's true. I'm a white male and European to boot. But we may have more in common than you think. Maybe if I tell my story, it will help inspire you to tell your story.
I mean, why not, guys? Come on. 2020 couldn't get any weirder. Why not listen to the ghost of a dead white European man?
Okay.
Fine.
Great.
All right, let's hear it.
Episode 2, in which Bertolt Brecht shares the story of his early life and post-World War I Germany with the cast of The Cherry Orchard.
All right. Before we begin...
Wait a minute. Didn't you look different now. I mean, you aren't even...
White? Yeah. This is the alienation effect, a theater technique I invented to reflect my times. I didn't want you to actually think I am Brecht. I'm an actor playing the ghost of the formerly living Bertolt Brecht. So we may as well switch actors, no?
Hold on. Wait. Why is he talking about aliens? Did I miss something here?
The alienation effect. But we will get to that later.
Okay.
Before we begin, I want to invite the audience to go get a snack and a drink. And put on something comfortable if you haven't already. I believe that theater should be like a sporting event. It is not something to be treated as precious. And since we're all at home anyway, we may as well really get into it. So, pretend you're watching one of those Super Bowl things you do in the United States and go get some chips and bean dip. Really, go on. We will wait for you. Okay, I hope you got something good to eat.
I got crackers.
Wunderbar! So, I was born in Augsburg, Germany on February 10th, 1898.
That's a long time ago.
122 years ago, to be exact.
Wow.
Wow, things must have been so different back then.
Yes and no, but we will get to that too. Are you ready to hear my story?
Sure.
I was born.
Da, my little Wiener Schnitzel, I love you so much. You are my precious little Eugene Bertolt Friedrich Brecht. Oh.
That's quite a name.
It is, isn't it? But then I became known professionally as Bertolt Brecht. Actually, would you help me act out this part of my life?
Sure.
I grew up in Bavaria, a very beautiful part of Germany.
Mama, I'm going to play outside with my friends.
Yes, darling. I know how you love the rivers and lakes and woods.
Anywho, the backdrop of my youth was World War I, a horrific period in Germany's history. The war happened in the first place to bolster the ego of a young male czar.
That is me. I am the Tsar. And I will prove myself and my masculinity by starting a war that will leave tens of thousands of wounded soldiers walking the streets with missing body parts and mutilated faces.
Their misery and despair was hard to turn away from.
So all that started because of an insecure person?
An insecure man, more specifically. It has its own distinct consequences.
But I'm so glad we refused to elect a woman president. I mean, we all know how emotional they can get.
Mm-hmm. And did you serve in the war?
When they ran out of men to enlist, they made boys participate. Can you imagine 11-year-olds fighting in a war? But I myself was unable to serve as a soldier because I was sick as a child. But I did serve in a hospital. It was a ward for soldiers who had certain diseases from certain romantic encounters with prostitutes. It was not a pretty picture.
Oh, that sounds gross.
Ugh, yes, it was gross. I know you're all going through a difficult time right now, but you must know there has rarely been a moment in history where there was not great misery. All in the name of freedom, the nation, conquest, and pride. At the center of it all, always, seems to be greed.
You said it.
And the poverty and inflation that occurred in Germany at this time was incredible. Shall we continue to act out my story?
Sure. Here I am, Bertolt Brecht, and I, like many of my fellow Germans, can barely afford a loaf of bread. Starvation is rampant, and we have very little, if any, political stability.
That sounds familiar. So what did you do?
Me? I wrote poetry. I believe with all my heart that art was the only true response to this misery. Oh, that is Pamela Katz. She wrote a book about me because I am so important and fabulous.
Yes, in my book, The Partnership, I write that Bertolt Brecht.
Oh, that's me.
Yes, as I was saying, Bertolt Brecht believed art must deal with the problems of the age and have a direct practical influence on contemporary life. That's from page 81, in case you were wondering.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, danke.
Bless you.
Bless you. So, I started writing poetry and I started to become rather popular. I also became popular with the girls.
Rodo, I'm pregnant.
Oh, and before I knew it, I was a papa. And suddenly I had responsibilities. Around this same time, Berlin was becoming the cultural capital of Germany, a place for free thinking and free loving. So it eventually became clear to me that I needed to move there, even though I greatly missed the nature I had grown up with.
Then what happened?
Then I came along.
Who are you?
Who are
Who
you?
are you?
Oh, but I am Kurt Weill, the great opera director. And I was so sure that if I put his words to my music, we would make a fantastic team.
Naturally, he thought I was brilliant.
Oh, but that is true. I did think you were brilliant.
Along with my involvement with Kurt, I also became involved with more women.
Wait, didn't you say
Yes, I already had a child and was married, but what can I say? I enjoy the company of women.
Brecht, I'm pregnant.
Who was that?
Ooh, that's Helene Weigel, the great German actress. So, anyway, Helene Elizabeth Hoffman and I...
Wait, who is that?
Oh, Elizabeth? Well, she was basically my secretary who helped me with my translations and other business items.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, with Kurt, Helene, and Elizabeth, I created Three Penny Opera, and that catapulted me to fame as a playwright and theater maker. I was 30 years old.
Damn, that's
That's
impressive.
really impressive.
I know.
Okay, then what happened?
While millions of families starved, those in power seemed to care only about two things: making money and preventing change. The Russian people had overthrown their monarchy in the October Revolution, and the German aristocracy, fearing they would be next, did everything possible to prevent revolution in Germany. Me and my Marxist pals wanted the opposite. We wanted an end to the Kaiser's Reich. We wanted equality. We wanted.
I'm sorry, but what is Marxism?
Oh, may I?
Who are you?
I'm Karl Marx.
Oh, of course.
Simply put, I said there are two kinds of people in the world: people who produce things and people who own things. After the Industrial Revolution, there were all these factories that produced goods, but the people who built them and worked in them were starved, while the owners lived in luxury. Us Marxists are the ones who have said that enough's enough. We believe that working people across the globe can unite in order to change the world.
So you were a Marxist then?
Yes, well, I was really a Marxist before I knew what Marxism was. But one day I went to attend a protest of workers, and the police came and shot people dead, even though all they were doing was protesting for their rights to be able to afford food and shelter.
That definitely sounds familiar.
After that, my dedication to Marx was secured. What Marxists believe is that in order to make the world better, oppressed people need to join together in order to overthrow their oppressors.
That sounds right to me.
I mean, it is hard to argue a good reason why people need to be oppressed, no? But as we all know from history, the workers did not end up getting the revolution. Quite the opposite.
The Nazis.
Yes. In 1929, the global economy crashed. The government was bureaucratic and impotent to address this crisis. People's lives were destroyed from one day to the next. The Nazis capitalized on this fear and turmoil to push a far-right agenda. They encouraged their supporters to attack minority groups, claiming that Germany was under attack by immigrants and Jewish terrorists.
I know we sound like a broken record, but that definitely sounds familiar.
They claimed social progress decayed the moral fiber of the nation, and they wanted to bring Christianity back to the government. It's a tactic people in power use. They take advantage of people's misery, despair, and fear, and they manipulate them into hating those who are, in fact, their neighbors, their teachers, their friends, sometimes even their own family.
The people in power want the oppressed people to blame each other and fight with each other so we don't pay attention to the true cause of our misery.
Yes, precisely.
You know, some immigrant from El Salvador is not the reason that some white person in like West Virginia doesn't have a job anymore or doesn't have health insurance, but it's just so much easier to blame each other than try to figure out how to fight the oppressor.
Yes, that is it, exactly. Anti-Semitism, racism, hatred weren't invented by Hitler, but he took advantage of it, and Nazism became very popular. At the time, democracy itself was in danger, and I believe there was nothing more important than democracy and freedom. I wanted to educate people through my art, help them think. People who do not think become sheep, and they are prey to the wolves out there, the Hitlers of the world.
That's beautiful. I wish we saw a connection between democracy, freedom, and art here in the US.
You don't?
No.
Oh. So, the Nazis were paying attention to me and my writing because I was openly leftist. By this time, Helene and I were married, and she had renounced her ties to Judaism, not to protect herself intentionally, but because she was non-practicing, and she was a woman very true to her word. But that was a move that would prove to be critical to our ability to leave Germany before the Nazis fully took over.
Where did you go?
Well, first we went to Denmark, then Sweden, then Finland. Then we traveled through Russia, Southeast Asia, and then we took a boat to Los Angeles.
Hey, what? We live in Los Angeles.
Yes. You see, we might have more in common than you think.
Episode 3, in which Bertolt Brecht shares a scene from his life in Los Angeles, and the cast share their thoughts on Los Angeles with Brecht.
Yeah, I am Bertolt Brecht. We arrived in Los Angeles and settled into a bungalow by the sea in Santa Monica.
But wait a minute. Wasn't someone else just Oh, yes. Never mind. Of course, you are Bertolt Brecht.
Maybe you can help me out here. Why don't you play the parts of the people I met in Los Angeles?
Okay.
Da, and I will play myself, of course. Okay, just pretend to be very superficial, and perhaps you should put on a costume to convey the feeling of being very fancy. It is I, Bertolt Brecht, the famous German playwright and lover, the bad boy of Berlin.
Who?
Bertolt Brecht, the famous German lover and playwright. I wrote the famous play, Three Penny Opera.
Never heard of it.
Oh, you Hollywood types are all the same. You probably have never seen a proper play in your entire lives.
Don't pay attention to them. Most of these dimwits wouldn't know good art if it came up and smacked them on the head.
Well, hello. Are you an actress? I should put you in one of my plays.
Well, sometimes I've been known to
My
kind of.
actresses and I tend to get very familiar with each other.
My husband writes. Maybe you've heard of him, Dalton Trumbo.
Listen, baby, why don't you come to my place sometime? I don't know how you do things in Los Angeles, but my wife and mistresses and I have a very open relationship.
Oh, really? Do they have lovers of their own? Maybe they could be with my husband. We could swap.
No, of course not. That would make me so jealous. Only I am allowed to see other people. They must be completely faithful to me. So, do you want to be a Bertie's babe or not?
I'm Dalton Trumbo. Betty, who's the Kraut?
The Kraut is a German, and I am the author of the Three Penny Opera. Ever heard of it?
Isn't that some sort of communist play?
Communist?
Oh, for goodness sake, you Americans are so terrified of communism. It's okay. You can come out now. Oh, you probably report me to that dope McCarthy just to save your own hides. I need a drink. Barkeep, I'd like some peppermint schnapps.
There is no peppermint schnapps or whatever. And it's a cash bar.
What does that mean? That sounds very capitalistic.
It means that you have to pay for your own drinks, you commie.
I give up on this horrible place. The scene, indeed. I think you get the picture.
Seems like you really didn't like Los Angeles.
America had always fascinated me. I even wrote one of my first plays, City of Mahogany, about America. But I didn't anticipate arriving here and having to worry about the country I loved and the people I left behind. And Los Angeles was so different from Germany and so different from what I'd learned about America. Did you know there are no saloons in Hollywood? And people drank martinis and not whiskey? Oh, such a shame.
I love whiskey.
Me too. And a good cigar. LA's absolute worship of capitalism went against everything I believed in as a Marxist. I wrote some pretty critical poems about Los Angeles.
Oh, can we hear them?
I can't read them to you now because we don't have the rights.
They're your own poems. Don't you have the rights?
You have a good point, but better not to get sued, even by my own estate. Capitalism. But I believe you can find them online. What about you? Do you like Los Angeles?
I love it.
Well, I don't understand that, but to be fair, I really just missed my home. I didn't come to Los Angeles because I wanted to be here or because I wanted to make it in Hollywood. I came here because I was fleeing the Nazis. And Berlin is very different from Los Angeles. Being a refugee is not the same as moving somewhere because you wanted to try a new adventure.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Someone that I care for deeply had to flee a really bad situation in her home country, and she's really suffered.
I would like to hear her story.
And I would like to hear more about yours.
Episode 4, in which Bertolt Brecht and Zion share the story of those who come to the U.S. not out of choice, but because they are fleeing terrors in their home country.
I am Bertolt Brecht.
Welcome to the United States of America, Mr. Brecht.
Great to be here. I am tired of running away from the Nazis, and everyone says that here is the land of the free. Let's see how true that is.
I'm sorry. So you're a Jew?
No, I'm a playwright, which is just as bad to the Nazis. In America, you have free speech, right?
As long as you're not a communist or saying anything against capitalism, which is, I guess, the same as being a communist, and as long as you don't question authority.
How nice. It will be just like Germany.
What?
Nothing. Besides, I am not a communist. I am a socialist.
You're what?
Socialist. It basically means that I am pro-worker, that I believe the workers of a country should have more say in how things are run than the rich bosses who were probably just born rich in the first place.
That sounds like a communist to me.
I would think that as a cop, you would understand what it is like to not make a lot of money, while the people who make decisions about your job in life are just fine financially. Besides, don't you cops have pretty active unions?
Well, yes.
I hate to break it to you, but that's socialism, as is the pension and affordable health care you receive when you are an old man.
Who do you think you are? You're just some German communist playwright. You don't know about our country or my life.
I know a great deal about those who blindly follow their leader and commit acts of violence because it is what they are told to do.
Well, that's Germany, not here in America.
I wouldn't be so sure.
Pardon me?
Nothing.
You say you're a playwright. Might you have written something I know?
3 penny opera.
Never heard of it.
It's a musical or a play with music.
I love musicals. I love hits.
And now I am here in sunny Los Angeles, California. I am going to try my hand at the movie biz.
Well, good luck out there. Hey, can I get your autograph? Just in case you make it big out there.
I am big.
And yet, here you are, being interviewed by immigration.
I told you, I had to escape the Nazis. My lack of citizenship here has nothing to do with my talent.
You would be wise to learn here, Mr. Brecht, that no matter who you are, famous German playwright or not, as far as we are concerned, you are an immigrant, a pest, a nuisance,
So, you see, This is how it went.
For my friend too. Would you still like to hear her story?
Very much, yes, danke.
Name?
Amina Max Mohammed.
This is a weird name. Amina.
Max, please. I don't like my other name.
Why? Because it's weird?
No, because it means feel safe, and I feel everything but safe.
Well, you're safe now in America. We aren't barbarians like they are in... Where are you from?
Somalia?
Precisely. We aren't barbarians like they are in Somalia. So why are you in the United States? What exactly are your intentions here?
I'm escaping persecution in my country. I am a lesbian, and they kill people like me.
Who kills people like you?
The people, the police, everyone.
So you're a fugitive?
No, I'm not. Not now that I'm here. Now I'm a refugee. I'm just asking for your help, okay? I'm asking for asylum here. Please. I mean, all my life I've been taught that America's the place you go if you're escaping persecution. Just like the Jewish people did in Nazi Germany, or the Pilgrims did in the first place because of religious persecution.
That is not why the Pilgrims came here.
I'm pretty sure.
Hey, silence! I won't have some lesbian from Somalia teaching me about the Pilgrims. So you've broken the law in Somalia?
No, the law is inhumane. I shouldn't have to worry about my safety. I should just be able to love whoever I want.
Well, maybe you've never met the right man. You ever think of that, young lady?
Have you ever thought that maybe you haven't met the right man?
Yeah, have you ever been with a man?
That's none of your business. And don't get any ideas about what you can do to me, because I can defend myself.
Relax. Here in America, we don't do those kinds of things. But if you forget who's asking the questions here, that might change. On with the questions. How'd you arrive here in the States?
Well, I had to escape through a desert. Then I took a boat to India, where I was able to take a plane to Brazil. Then I got robbed and I lost all my papers and my passport. So I started traveling with smugglers. Crossing Central America wasn't that bad, but the southern frontier of Mexico was hell. Me and some other women were, well, the smugglers just did bad things, but I guess that's just the price of crossing us to Mexico. Then we ended up in a trailer with around 200 other people. We traveled for days without any ventilation. I mean, we couldn't breathe. The smell of our own filth was making us dizzy and nauseous, and it was driving us insane. And we had to dig a hole through the bottom of the trailer just to get fresh air. And people became desperate. I mean, a man decided to jump through the hole. And when the trailer bounced, we knew that he had been run over. And then someone else tried to do it. And this time it was a woman and her elderly mother. And they were also crushed by the truck. And then 8 more people did that. Anyway, 2 days later, we arrived here in El Paso, starving. I mean, I've been in your detention center for 6 days now. I've lost one of my teeth.
And you went to all that trouble just because you like girls? Couldn't you just hide that?
Well, how did that work out for Jewish people in Nazi Germany or artists in Mao's China?
Are you back-talking me? Don't you dare give me any more lessons. I'm the one in charge here. Do you understand?
Yes, of course. I was just trying to explain how I feel.
No one cares how you feel. Now, we have a situation with you. Do you know it's against the law to enter the United States without valid entry documents?
Yes, I know, but I did not intend to enter illegally.
Then please
What's
tell me
here? I'm trying to get status as an asylum seeker.
what is your purpose for coming to the United States?
To be safe and to not have to hide.
Look, I want to help you. Of course, this is the great United States, but since you have no passport, this is going to be a problem. You need to prove your identity. And you need to prove that what you're telling me is real, because for all I know, you may be another Mexican and you want to come here to smuggle drugs.
But I'm not.
I don't know. I mean, your English is pretty good.
Just because I'm an immigrant and I know how to speak English does not mean I'm uneducated.
Excuse me?
Oh, I'm sorry. Of course, this is not funny. I'm just thinking of a little trick I played on the American government. Isn't it amazing how little has changed? My situation almost 100 years ago, fleeing the Nazis, and now this poor girl escaping from Somalia because she is gay. And the Nazis also persecuted the queers. Many of my artist friends.
Wait, you said you played a trick on the government?
Oh, yes. Well, as it turns out, basically, as soon as I came to the US, the FBI began to spy on me because they believed I was a communist, which was the same as being a criminal back then. Even though everyone here in America is supposedly free to have whatever political or religious affiliation that they want.
Yeah, that's a joke.
Well, so eventually, I was called in front of the House of Un-American Acts Committee. Isn't that a silly name? And they wanted me to confess to being a communist, or they wanted me to rat out friends I had in Hollywood for being a communist.
No way.
Yeah. It was all part of the McCarthy trials. People in Hollywood were blacklisted. Friends were torn apart by the pressure to rat each other out. Frankly, it was the same tactics I knew of the Nazis. So when I had to testify, I pretended I couldn't understand English so well. I played the part of a dumb immigrant that they believed me to be. I figured if they couldn't see me for who I really am, why not perform who they think I am? It was fabulous. They gave up on asking me questions because I was going round and round in circles and circles.
That's really funny, man.
Yeah, man, I thought so. But what wasn't funny was the fact that I realized that what I had suspected early on upon my arrival in America, that this place was not much safer for me and people like me than Nazi Germany had been. But America pretends to be so different, pretends to be so good and so righteous. I mean, look at you. Even now, you have way more memorials to the Holocaust than to slavery or the genocide of Native Americans. Why? Because the Holocaust is the terrible thing that Germans did. You don't want to deal with your own horrific history.
It's so true. We can't deal with racism or sexism or homophobia. Not in a truly honest way.
Exactly. So then what happened?
I left. The day after I gave my testimony, I wanted everyone to know that I would rather go back to a devastated Europe, that I would rather risk encountering Nazi sympathizers than to stay in America where those I thought were my friends might stab me in the back at the encouragement of the government. So I took my family and I went back to Europe and wrote some of my most famous plays, including Mother Courage.
I bet you had a lot to say after all you had been through.
I wrote plays inspired by Marxism because I wanted my audience to come away thinking about the system of oppression that forces people to make decisions when in fact they have no options. There is no decision to make. Mother Courage has no choice. In order to save her family, she must destroy her family. You shouldn't think about why Mother Courage is a bad person. No. You should think about the people who profit off the war, who create the war, who create a disaster in which Mother Courage must try to survive.
If I may, Pamela Katz here again. I believe that I have the perfect quote from my book, The Partnership. In it, I write, it had become impossible as far as Brecht was concerned for modern man to determine his own destiny. In order for contemporary drama to remain relevant, it had to abandon the concept of the individual and instead focus on the situation of the masses of men. Page 18.
Well put, Pamela.
I wonder who is profiting from COVID. Who profits from my misery?
Yeah. This is the question you should be asking, that we all should ask. This is why I wrote Mother Courage, and this is why I intended that everyone should know why it was that we needed to let the people know what everyone
Okay, wait
was
a
going.
minute. You didn't write Mother Courage.
Pardon me?
You didn't write Mother Courage.
Episode 5. Episode 5, in which we learn an inconvenient truth about Bertolt Brecht and the women in his life.
Who are you?
I am Bertolt Brecht.
No, I am Bertolt Brecht, and I wrote Mother Courage.
No, I am Bertolt Brecht.
No, I am Bertolt Brecht.
No, I am Bertolt Brecht.
Helena, Ruth, Margaret, and Elizabeth. What are you doing here? And why are you all saying you're me?
I'm Helen Weigel. I was Brecht's wife, lead actress, business manager, and patron. I was a mother not only to the children he had with me, but the children he had with other women before we even met. I managed the Berliner Ensemble after my husband's death in 1956 until my own death in 1971. It wasn't a problem for me because I was so good at managing his life before he died.
I am Margaret Steffen. I assisted in the writing of 7 Brechtian plays, including Mother Courage, Life of Galileo, and The Irresistible Rise of Arturo Ui. Oh, and a book of poetry.
I'm Ruth Berlau. I was his lover. While we were together, I was his secretary, author, director, photographer, director. I immersed myself in all things Brecht.
I am Elizabeth Hopman. I was his long-term mistress who lived with him when he wasn't with Helene. I was his lover, his editor, translator, and screener of potential collaborators. I also pretty much wrote the Threepenny Opera.
See, we are the great women behind the great man of Bertolt Brecht.
And we also stand in for all the women and men that Brecht flattered, charmed, seduced, borrowed from,
stole from.
Brecht often discarded those who had given them their best performances, dialogue, poetry, plays, set designs. He would be cruel and demanding, and I often had to clean up the messes he made with his temper. Sometimes I would even console his actresses so that they wouldn't leave a show, even though I knew they were sleeping with my husband.
Come on now. We agreed we will be honest about him, but this project is about getting his work out. Getting his work out is important to all of us. Bibi was a very flawed human being. We all know that. He has done unspeakable things to all of us. But we have created great art. I certainly got many more of my words and thinking out than I could have ever been able to as a female author alone.
I say what we created is important. People may not know our names, but they know our words.
Yes, but does that make it okay? I mean, the point I want to make is that Brecht was a Marxist, so concerned about labor, but he used us and our labor. He could never have accomplished what he did if he had had to
take care of his own children.
wash his own clothes,
Or
Mhm.
translate his own work.
Oh, good.
maybe get a haircut.
Wow, that was
Ooh, you're kind of a.
Jerk.
Yes.
Would you like to hear a joke?
Sure.
This is a good one. What does a brilliant German artist have for breakfast when they want to be inspired?
I don't know what.
Muesli.
Oh.
Well, nobody's perfect. What can I say? These women, they were my muses.
Viva way more than your muses.
I mean, but how do we celebrate you as one of the heroes of theater if you didn't even write the plays you were most famous for?
Isn't this just typical? We love the idea of the solitary male genius. And yet, how many examples are there of women who are equal or greater partners of the creation of these masterpieces? How many times have women been erased from history?
Yeah, if they were even acknowledged in the first place.
yeah, this is totally messed up.
You don't have to throw out the Bertolds with the bathwater. I mean, I still developed the alienation effect.
Yeah, but did you?
Yeah, of course I did.
Okay, well, the concept of an actor pointing out the fact that they're performing can also be seen in kabuki and no drama, which existed way before you did. So,
Listen, who is the most famous playwright of all time?
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
No, although I would literally die for some Hamilton tickets. No, the most famous playwright of all time is, of course,
Oh, Shakespeare.
but we don't even know for sure if the man we know as Shakespeare is the real Shakespeare.
What are you talking about?
No, it's true. Some people think the real Shakespeare is the Earl of Oxford, or was actually Queen Elizabeth, or is a combination of people.
Exactly. But in the end, does it really matter who wrote those beautiful words?
Yes, of course it does. I mean, let's name the geniuses of playwriting.
Shakespeare.
Chekhov.
Henrik Ibsen.
Tennessee Williams.
Anyone noticing a theme here?
Nobody said Brecht.
Oh,
And Brent.
Danke.
Bless you.
Well, you're missing the obvious point. They were all men.
Okay, but those are all old examples.
Are you calling me old?
You're literally dead.
Well, right.
okay. Let's try naming modern playwrights who've been called the Shakespeare of their time.
Alejandro Recaño.
Tony Kushner.
Pharrell Alvin McCraney.
Right. And again, all men. This matters. When you were learning about theater, you associate genius with being a man. And if you aren't a man, that doesn't exactly make you think you stand a chance of ever being considered a genius. Someday, right. Did you know that in 2017, it was the first year 2 female playwrights were on Broadway at the same time? That's absurd.
And did you know that in the history of the Tonys, which began in 1948, only 3 women playwrights have won the category of Best Playwright on their own, and 2 as co-playwrights with a man? I mean, think about that, everyone. 72 years of awards, and 3 women have won Best Playwright individually.
And between 1962 and 1973, not a single female playwright was even nominated.
Yeah, and the same thing happened again between 2005 and 2008.
And I wonder how many of these plays written by men that were produced on Broadway and received Tony Awards were also actually written in part by a woman who has remained in the shadows.
But that's all Tonys and Broadway. Who cares? So capitalist of you.
But it's very hard to make a living in theater. Making it to Broadway or getting a Tony helps to establish one's career so they can make a living off of playwriting. And if those opportunities go to men,
Yeah, the men continue to be the ones who make a living off of theater. Kind of like it was 100 years ago.
You are right, Mr. Brecht. At the end of the day, we have the plays no matter what. But is that all that matters in the end? I think not. Because women are made invisible all the time in so many different ways. And it matters to me to know that women are also capable of being geniuses. And since you are so concerned with systems of oppression, it might matter to you that the same systems that prevented the women who wrote or co-wrote your plays from being in the spotlight and taking full credit for their work are still oppressing women today. The systems have not changed, or they have not changed enough.
It's true. Women wrote for me, and a lot. I never said that women couldn't or shouldn't write. We just all knew that I had to be the name on the bill for the play to succeed.
I mean, I kind of wonder how this guy's supposed to inspire us to make theater right now. It seems like he's an hypocrite and a thief.
Listen, everyone. Maybe I didn't write all of the plays I'm known for. Okay, these were complicated situations.
Oh.
But I still advocated for a theater that aims to change the world. I combined theater making with Marxism.
That's also not entirely your own thing. You wouldn't be a Marxist without me.
Yeah, Helena, that's true. Okay, the relationships in my life, all of them, they inspired me. They made me who I am. There is no way to know what's an original Brecht thought when, I mean, there was no Brecht without Helena and Ruth and Margaret and Elizabeth, and I know that. I admit that. So, my dear students, you can be inspired by all of us. You have the plays we wrote together. You have the theories of theater that came out of that. And we are all here today to tell you that you must be making theater right now.
Yes, Brecht and all of us, the women of his life, we are here to say, what could be more important than sharing stories so that we might better understand each other, so that we can show the world the system of oppression that crushed the individual.
Yeah, but how can we really make theater, true theater, in the middle of a pandemic?
You're already doing it. You're making theater in tiny little boxes. It is perfect. It is the perfect alienation effect. The audience, they know they're not watching real characters. They know we're people in our homes, acting out a play. Hello. You know this isn't real life, yeah? We're just students.
Of course they know.
It is perfect. I believe theater should be of its time, and it should be accessible to as many people as possible. So what could be more a theater of its time than theater on Zoom right now? You are all stuck at home, but does that stop you from making theater? No. And by doing it online, you are making it more accessible to people than you would be able to do it if you were in a theater right now. It is so very democratic.
You know, now that you say it, I always thought that theater wasn't accessible to enough people.
Episode 6, in which the cast figures out why theater matters to them and what it needs to look like to keep up with the world.
It is I, Bertolt Brecht. Please, I'd like to know what you mean. You were saying that theater isn't accessible enough? Say more.
I mean, we live in a world where culture is a privilege and it's expensive, and people don't care about classic art. They just care about TikTok and their stories. And for example, I went to LAGMA to see this piece, Carne y Arena, by Alejandro González Iñárritu. And it's a virtual experience where you live what crossing the border illegally means. And you get into this big room, and it's really cold, and the whole experience, it's very powerful. It's amazing, heartbreaking. But it's also very expensive, and it was really hard to get tickets. And what does that mean? And I wonder why is here in LA and it's not like in Orange County or in any other conservative town or an anti-immigrant town, you know? Like, why does it have to be like in a museum and not in free in a mall so everyone can see it? Why does it have only shows like in LA, Milan, and Mexico City? Why not like in the border of Chiapas and Guatemala or in all the border around like the two countries? People going to museums, concerts, theaters, they don't need to change their mind. Some of them could make some changes, but like people that experience art in a daily basis, they don't need to change it. People are like more open, but people who don't have access to the arts, these are the people that need the education. And maybe this pandemic will change forever who has access to art, you know, like maybe we should always make more things accessible to everyone so my family back in Mexico can see me perform and a kid in El Paso, Texas can watch opera in New York.
And people in New York can watch performers in El Paso.
Exactly.
Fabulous.
This reminds me so much of something that I wrote in my introduction to my play called A Man's a Man. I said, the theater has too long been the property of a small elite that claims to be the nation. It is no accident that today, when this elite clearly no longer represents the nation, the theater is in decline, and that an invention like the radio is simply attending to the art that was previously the theater's obligation. Usually the masses are considered too stupid, but they are not stupid. It is probably that only a small minority of the masses understands, say, the theory of relativity, but does that mean that it should be communicated to only a few?
No, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. We shouldn't everyone have access to education, to art, to theater. Soon is like the radio. It seems like in the world of art and theories, you know, and museums, like we believe that something is more important when less people have access to it, or it's more expensive to have access to it. So right now it's like the radio. It gives more access to the people.
Yeah, right. Let me hear more.
I think the American identity lacks compassion. Theater provides a way to empathize. An audience is tasked with finding themselves in a completely fabricated world, relating to characters whose lives begin and end within a 3-hour runtime. But in real life, our empathy muscles get way less exercise. Why are we so willing to suspend our disbelief when watching a show, but when asked to imagine a real world that could be better for everyone, we think, but that's impossible. The very purpose of theater is to hold a mirror up to society.
Theater explores the collective unconscious. Exploration of our desires and fears can lead us to an altered vision of our current reality, as well as a new language with which to discuss it.
Theater is of the people, for the people, of the time, and for the time in which it exists. The very purpose of theater is to hold up a mirror to society.
Theater and art take the problems of the current age, display them to the people, and either posit a solution to the problems or help the people to see their intrinsic worth as humans, which enables them to take control and find ways to help.
Yeah, art is made to reflect people in the time it's made in. Our thoughts are often difficult to convey, but sometimes the best way to express those emotions are in an abstract form. And inversely, sometimes the best way for another person to absorb what you're saying and to understand where you're coming from is through art. The hope is that through art and through theater, we can get our ideas across to someone who would otherwise not listen. The more people's stories you hear, the more you will understand the many different human experiences across the world.
Yeah, you see, you're getting it. I think that Pamela Katz has a good quote for you.
I do. Thank you. Brecht believed art must deal with the problems of the age and have a direct practical influence on contemporary life. Page 81.
That's right. Art must deal with the problems of the time and must try to change those problems. What do you brilliant young people want to change?
The pharmaceutical, energy, and financial products industries, they're benefiting from the suffering of humanity and the destruction of the natural world. It's not our politicians or media giants. Those are just tools of the industry and they're dependent on them.
Powerful businesses and media executives pulling the strings, and they don't care about everyday working people. The rich and powerful are destroying the earth and don't give a shit as long as they're making money.
The cops are killing unarmed Black men in front of our very eyes.
There are bigots and hypocrites everywhere.
Nothing changes.
No, but that is why I am here. To help you see that you are the change. It's true that more should have happened between my lifetime and yours. It saddens me deeply to see that so much oppression still occurs. It puts a dagger in my heart to know that people want to be the Nazis of their time.
But if you believe the fault is in the system and not in the individual, what can we do?
You become the Brecht of your time. You keep telling your story. You keep fighting.
May I?
Of course.
Pamela Katz here again, for the last time. Brecht believed that artists were essential in rebuilding their country's identity. Education, especially in the form of accessible culture, was the only means by which to transform subjects into citizens and a monarchy into a true democracy. That is page 15 from my book, The Partnership.
You really believe theater can change a monarchy into a democracy?
I believe that you must tell your story. Tell it now. Who are you? Who do you want to be in this world? Go. Go be the Brecht of your time.
Episode 7, in which the cats reveals who they are and who they want to be.
I am Bertolt Brecht.
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 Wait a minute. I'm not Brecht. None of us is Brecht. I'm Carol. I am a champion of human rights and dignity, and I am kind. I know my self-worth. I want everyone to know that their struggles do not define them as a person, as my struggles do not define me.
I'm Jesus, and I have hope. As small as I feel, I have hope that my voice will carry on the wind and echo throughout the world. I have hope that if I fell backwards with my eyes closed, there would be someone there to catch me. I have hope that we will find within us the power to be truly free.
I am Liana, and I'm a strong, independent Black woman who knows her worth. I have a strong heart and immerse myself in new things.
I am Joanna, and I want to pursue a career in education for child labor rights, using theater arts as a tool to do this. I believe the arts are key to the development of any member in society, sin importar el idioma o lugar.
I'm Aaron, and I just want to help try and repair things that are broken. I try to remind myself to listen to others more than I speak and to not consume more than my share. I recognize that I need to have the humility to understand that I can't speak for others and that my life hasn't been as bad as theirs. And I have to remember that I have an obligation to reserve space for others and to celebrate their accomplishments.
I am Argel, and I'm a person who's trying to grow, to be better, and be more mindful and less in my head, be more present and less in my phone. I want people to realize that there's more than just our first impressions of things, that there's beauty in everything and every single one, that there's complexity in every single one of us, even in the simple things.
I'm Vanessa. My fatal virtue is my tongue. I believe representation matters. I got a big brain and a big mouth, and I've never been afraid to use either one of them. When I got a problem, oh, you better believe you're going to know about it. All about it.
I'm Spencer. I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a friend, I'm a boyfriend. The people that I love and the work I do matter to me most, and I hope to create lasting, meaningful memories for myself and for those around me.
I'm Zion, and I do not like to build walls. I break them. I do not like to create categories or boxes. I dissolve them, even the ones that most people think should be up. I like to dig into the uncomfortable. Someone has to talk about it, and someone has to get the conversation going.
I'm Julius, and I am dissatisfied. I think the world could be so much better if we had the courage to change it, and I think part of that is broadening our horizon of imagination. I think got to stop being afraid of power and start being afraid of what will happen if we don't use it.
I am Joanne. I'm an adventurer. I am curious, kind, and truthful. I am following the road not taken in my youth. As an audience member and an artist, I will commit to supporting and participating in new plays and works by new playwrights, or contemporary translations or revivals of older works that reflect my current reality.
So, are we gonna keep rehearsing our scene or not?
Answer.
Oh,
Oh,
dude!
come on.